Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our National Predators Throwback 2000 franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and we pretty much kept the team together. We did make a small trade getting rid of Svatos' rights to, I forget which team it was, but we brought in instead to replace him Chuck Kobasu, just because he's a two-way kind of guy. So that way we brought in more of a defensively minded player for the bottom six. Now, there is going to be some question marks going into next season because we do have a lot of guys that might be on the uprise, like Art Meyer from the AHL, as well as Parker Winnick might be making the NHL. So we should have some guys making the NHL from the AHL squad, which means I don't know if the bring in of Chuck Kobasu was necessary, but it will be very interesting to see still what our team is obviously doing next season. Aside from that, our defensive core obviously is going to stay pretty much the exact same. Our forward group is pretty similar to what it was last year. I'm just hoping that obviously we do not under-assimilate a little bit, because we haven't had really good playoff success before, and we're getting very close to the end of the series because NHL 25 is right around the corner. So I don't know if this team's going to get a cup before the series ends. I guess it really just depends on how these young guys that we are bringing in to the lineup next season adjust to our roster. We also might have too many guys listed as like fourth liners and all that, so we might have to make some trades before the start of the regular season next season, because currently Pavelski and Winnick are still RFAs. Hakkarainen could make the NHL team right out of the gate, which is pretty insane, but he might play in the AHL for a year just to get him ready. Kostitsyn's also getting close. Travis Moen's kind of a good depth forward to have in case. So we do have a bit of a logjam on our forward group. From a defensive standpoint, I don't think anybody's going to make the jump up this year. Mark Giordano can maybe, but if he doesn't, we do have Brooks Orpik as our depth defenseman, and then literally every other one of our defenders is an RFA at the same year, which is next offseason, so that will be interesting if we could get a Stanley Cup before all those guys' entry-level deals decide to end. So there is all of that. And we do have one goaltending change, which is Jimmy Howard. He's going to be our backup goalie next season. That is if Brust does not accept his qualifying offer. If Brust isn't accepting it, I'm hoping that another team comes in and says, hey, I'll take on Brust and you can get a free third-round pick. Because if that happens, then we get a nice little compensation for him. Brust was really good last season. I wouldn't mind having him back again as our backup this season, but I think it is time probably that we give Jimmy Howard the opportunity to, because he's already 22 years old at this point. So it will be interesting to see what he could do in his first season. But anyways, let's get into your guys' comments down, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into free agency and getting through another offseason, and also starting up the 2007-08 season. So the first and only comment is from Michael Dose, who says, I wouldn't go after Sakic, too old, and yeah, I don't know about that either, based on our forward depth. Like, what I was saying in the last episode is that we might need more veterans on this roster, because maybe that's what's making our team not do so well when it comes to the playoffs, because you can see this team is really, really young on the skater group. The oldest is 28 years old, and that's Ladislav Nagy. Afterwards, everybody else is 26 and below and still developing, so that's probably why we don't have the best playoff runs, maybe, just because we don't have somebody that actually has been there before. So it would be good to probably at some point bring in a veteran to help out this team. Maybe that's something we do at the trade deadline this upcoming season, but for right now, we're going to probably keep the team the exact same going into the season, and then we can make some adjustments accordingly if the season isn't going to plan. So that's probably what we're going to lean towards doing going into next season. So I don't think we're going to sign anything because we have, like I said, too much of a logjam on forwards, and then defensively we're already built up enough. Goaltending, we already have our goalies. Let's simulate to the end of July. Do we need any coaches first and foremost? I don't remember. I got to double check on that. We do not. Wasn't there another coach I was interested in this series? I think there was, if I remember right. Let me just go back to the coaches and just see. So I feel like there was a coach that we were looking at in last episode. Ramsey. Was it Ramsey? No, he was not. And maybe it wasn't in this series. No, I feel like it was, because it's definitely not Winnipeg. It was Brent Helm. Yeah, I think it was this Helm guy, because he's a 62% right now. We'll bring him in as an assistant coach, and then we'll maybe make him our head coach next season, depending if he's a better fit or not for our team. Because I think maybe making a coaching adjustment could help us out a little bit. So we'll see if Helm will accept that. That's the one thing that we're going to do in terms of the coaching stuff this offseason. But we'll see what ends up happening with the RFAs. We probably will match any offer on any of the RFAs, except for Brust. I would probably take compensation, like I said, for him, because we already have Jimmy Howard. So Obviously, Pavelski should be easily able to come back. And then the other one was Parker Winnick, who's never played a single season yet. So I think we should be able to get both those guys back quite easily. All right, so let's go to the end of the July because we're not going to make any signings. Like I said, we're going to run pretty much the exact same roster next season, at least at the beginning. And if some players are really playing bad defensively, we can make some adjustments. We might still have to make trades at the start of the season too, depending on the log jam of players that we have. Let me just remove stuff from my block here because or else we're going to get trade offers that will just make this episode way too long. So, and I would like to get at least half of the season simulated in this episode just because we are running short on time in the series. Because if I'm not mistaken, I've got to see when the series would potentially end. So, technically this episode that I'm recording right now is going up on the 12th. Then we'd have an episode on the 16th, the 19th, the 23rd, and then the 26th. So the day literally before NHL drops, which is interesting. So we might only have another couple episodes left after this one for sure. So I might have to do multiple playoff rounds in one episode or something like that. Because if NHL 25 drops on the 27th, there's a chance I might get access to it even a little bit smidge earlier than that, which means I might be able to post a video on it a little bit earlier than the normal people would be able to, because I did that last year. So might have access to it relatively soon, so that would be interesting. So there you go. And Helm is accepted. Thank you. Perfect. I will see if he's a better fit for our head coaching job at the start of the season. And there you go. Brust has been offered a compensation deal, but it's only $825K, so there is no pick that we'd be taking. Trying to think. We wouldn't get any compensation, so it's just basically like to get him for free. I prefer probably to hold on to him and then just trade him, but I don't know what we would get him for. Because I said, he was a really good backup last season. But Jimmy Howard might be ready to take that leap. We're going to match it for now and see if we need still Brust. If we don't need Brust, we could trade him at the start of the season. So let's just match it because obviously might as well for that price point. Parker Winnick takes the qualifying offer, and then we're just waiting on Pavelski, who also accepts. So that's all of our RFAs, I believe, dealt with within the first month of free agency, which is great. So let me take a look here at the contracts, just make sure we don't have any more RFAs to deal with. I don't think we do. No, we do not. Perfect. So we are good on our roster for the start of the season. Let's take a look at the free agent signings in July. See if there was anything that was like really surprising. We'll also take a look and see if there's any trades, which there has been some off-season trades. So Michael Nylander getting shipped to Florida for 2 picks and a prospect goalie. Some defensemen, a third, and another defenseman go to Colorado. Juha Ulonen goes to where his son played, which is kind of neat. Eventually, Jesse Ulonen is his son. So Juha off to Montreal. And then Tampa acquires Andrew Ference from the Rangers. The Rangers get Cam Ward back. Wow. So Tampa getting rid of Cam Ward early on in his career. So Tampa just is offloading another goalie just like they did last season when we brought in Brust from them. In terms of free agent signings, that's kind of cool. Martin Gerber has signed in Carolina. He actually played in Carolina, but that was in 05-06, not in 07-08. He was already in Ottawa by that point, I'm pretty sure. What else we get here? Anything that is kind of crazy. A lot of goalies signing right around the same time. That's kind of weird. Hedberg, Conklin. Looking for any big-name free agent signings. Brian Allen in St. Louis, okay. Louis Berteshko, it's not a big name really. Jared Stoll to Toronto. Interesting one there. A lot of defensemen signed around the same time. Jonathan Girard went back to Boston again. Fernando Pisani signs in Tampa Bay. Pascal Dupuis to St. Louis. Trying to see if there's anything like super crazy that like we're like, what the hell happened? Manny Malhotra going to Pittsburgh's kind of neat. Matt Karkner signs with the Islanders. He did play for the Islanders, but it wasn't until like 2012-13 around, I think to say. So that's far into the future at this point still, but that's kind of cool. What else we got here? Anything that just screams crazy. Matt Cook to San Jose. Tosca is a Flyer. Fernandez is a Blackhawk. Ruslan Fedotenko is a Sen. Chris Simon's a Sabre. Rick DiPietro went to Vancouver, so Vancouver has picked up what they hope is their next goalie that they need for that good prospect pool that they have, or a good young team that they have. That's interesting. What else we got here? Cristobal Huey to New Jersey. Kayana goes back to St. Louis. Andy Green gets a 6-year deal from the Ducks. Damn. It's a pretty big contract. Mike Ricci to Detroit. Chris Kelly to the Islanders. Rostislav Klesla to Ottawa. Theo Fleury signs a 2-year deal in Boston. I'm surprised he got a 2-year deal. Like, he's pretty old at this point. He's like 39 years old. Wayne Primo. Bryce Salvador in San Jose. Alex Degg to Dallas. Jarian Hatcher to Washington, where his brother played at one point. Steve Stais signs in Detroit. Matthew Barnaby signs in Colorado, where she actually played for at one point. Anything crazy, though? Not really. A lot of familiar names, of course, but nobody super big. Martin Havlat goes to San Jose. That's actually kind of cool, because obviously after his time in Minnesota, he went to San Jose, so it was still years in the future at this point, but still he's actually getting to play for the Sharks, which is awesome. John LeClaire in Tampa, Axelson in Montreal. Chris Osgood going to the Blues. Love to see that. Obviously, he played for St. Louis for a brief little bit in his career, so that's kind of neat. Anything else other than that? Let's see. A lot of goalies changing still. Places. Raycroft signs with the Sharks as well. Mike Modano goes to Florida, probably to a retirement home or something. Radek Dvorak as well goes to Florida, which he actually played for, so that's nice. Ryan Malone signs with the Flyers. That's actually kind of funny, because I literally just read the other day when I was doing some roster contract work to set up for, obviously, for NHL 25. I read a thing that Ryan Malone refused to sign with the Philadelphia Flyers of any team, just because, just to give a nod to the Pittsburgh Penguins, because obviously there's a big rivalry between Pittsburgh and Philly all the time. He didn't want Philadelphia to be a team that he'd play for, so he never wanted to play in Philadelphia after he played in Pittsburgh, just to be nice to like Pittsburgh and their fans and the team in general. So that's kind of funny that he signs with the team that he actually said he wouldn't sign with. Like, I'll probably just put up like a little pop-up here of what the little article said, if I could actually think of it. Sergei Zubov signed with the Sharks as well. Zdeno Chara signed a 6-year deal in St. Louis. Wow. That's a pretty big blockbuster one. That's probably the biggest free agent signing so far. And probably the biggest one. Eric Cole to the Devils. And Andrei Markov gets a 5-year deal with the Canucks. Dominic Hasek going to San Jose on a 1-year deal. Craig Anderson resigns in Ottawa, which is nice to see. Patrick Lalime signs in Dallas. Anything else? Paul Martin signs in Ottawa, which is funny because at this point in time, actually a little bit earlier than this, the Prime Minister was named Paul Martin. So David Abisher signed in Dallas on a 5-year deal. You don't usually see goalies getting that long-term of contracts, but interesting. So there is the free agent stuff that happened this offseason. So I think we're ready to simulate to next season and get our lineup set up. Like I said, if we have too much of a logjam, we could trade away some players to free up roster space and all that. It'll be interesting to see what our team could do this season, because I think we should be obviously a good team, but it really just depends on if this team is ready to take that next step in this potentially final season of this franchise mode. So let's see what we got in terms of scratch players right now. Jacques definitely needs to be in, okay? So we'll get Comrie in as our third-line center like we did last year. Nagy obviously will be in the top 6. And I will probably split up Van Allen and Marita just because I feel like that's probably for the best. We probably actually should put Pavelski on this third line, maybe down the middle. Yeah, we'll put Pavelski down the middle. Comrie could be on the left side. Winnick will be on the right side. And we have Bork, Lacosta, and Kopecky. That looks pretty damn good. Actually, we should probably get Kobasu in somehow, but I don't really know how I could fit Chuck Kobasu in. Rene Bork actually can play the left side, so you know what? We'll take Kopecky and use him as the healthy scratch for the moment. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good looking forward group. And then from a defensive standpoint, we take out Orpik, and we will put in Jacques for the time being. This defensive core is looking nice too. A lot of guys are going to be listed as top 4s though, so they might start to complain, which is not great. Let's go something like that. Goalies still look good. Yeah, this team is looking pretty nice. And Brust is an 81. Is Howard ready? He pretty much is. I might honestly hold him down there for one more year. Yeah, I think I'm going to hold him down there for one more year just because I feel like I want to keep Brust for now. If Brust starts off the season bad, I will call up Jimmy Howard though. And then we could obviously trade away Brust. That's probably what my play is right now. And then in terms of people in their AHL that shouldn't be, because Steetson is pretty much a fourth liner, but I don't think I want to have a power forward on the fourth line. I prefer a two-way kind of guy, so I probably will keep him in the AHL for now. Jay McClement as a depth forward would be fine. Artmeyer should probably be in the AHL or NHL as an 81, but I would have to take out Kobasu out of the lineup. I could make Kobasu as the other depth option. Hakkarainen could take a little bit longer in the AHL. That's fine. Yeah, I think I'll call up Artmeyer, and then we're going to use Kobasu as depth if that's okay with this team. You might complain about ice time, though. I don't know if they will complain. If they do complain, we could trade them. It's easy as that. So let's just call up Artmeyer because he's really good. And we'll go best lines in the AHL for the time being. And then NHL. Yeah, this team's looking really stacked. Like, almost too good. Like, we're probably going to over-simulate, and then we're going to do terrible in the playoffs or something like that. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. I like it a lot. Power play, Spetsovin, Allen, Hartnell, Marita, Weber looks great. Leguan, Comrie, Nagy, Daly, Suter, I like that. Yeah, I like the looks of it. And then the penalty killers should look good. This current coach actually has pretty good chemistry, it looks like, with this team. Which means we might not need to change to the other coach, but I will definitely take a look and see if he's a better fit or not. And in the AHL, is there anybody scratch that shouldn't be? Mahalik. If for some reason we get up Jimmy Howard into the NHL, then Mahalik could come in. But for right now, he's not a big, important player. Yeah, that team looks really good. I like it. I like it a lot. So, the question now is, what is the team fit with this current coach, and what is it going to be like with a different coach? So Mestre is a 62%, so what it said Helm was earlier. So let's just demote him for the time being, just so we could see what Helm would be like as a head coach. Helm's also a 62. That's interesting. Let's see the chemistry, how it looks compared to what it looked like with the other coach. Because offensively, it should be pretty good. Ooh, even better chemistry on that third line. That's nice. Defensively, not so good in the chemistry department. Unless we went Jacques on like a top pairing. Or move Seabrook up to top pairing. Yeah, I think we got to go with the other coach. We got to go with our original guy. But it's just okay. But I do like that 62% a lot. So we'll move you back to assistant for the time being. Let me take a look at Cardwell for a sec. Cardwell's probably the worst of the bunch, right? Oh, he's also a 62. Okay, that's interesting. But we will probably make you... Yeah, we'll probably actually make you the assistant coach, just because you're probably the worst of the bunch with in terms of rating. And then we can move... where is he? Mestre back to head coach. Perfect. So now our head coaching job is filled. We got our associate, we got our assistant, we got our goalie coaches. Looks good. Looks good. Okay, I think we're ready to start simulating, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. So like I said, if for some reason people like Brust are not working well with this team anymore this season, like he has like a really bad save percentage after a few games, maybe we'll think about trading him so we could get Jimmy Howard up here. Now, we are getting trade offers for Jimmy Howard, but I don't think he's a player we're going to look to trade yet. I want to obviously see first if he's actually going to be a good NHL goalie, but maybe we don't really need Jimmy Howard going forward. Like, we could trade away him too, because he could be a little bit of a weak link considering this is his first season in the NHL. And I also don't want any trade offers right now, so I'm just removing stuff from the block here. Because the less offers we get, the faster we get simulate. And like I said, we want to get to halfway point of the season in this episode, just because there's a lack of time left before the series probably ends. But I'm very excited for NHL 25 in terms of franchise mode. I'm excited to see what you guys think of it once they actually start announcing what's in franchise mode this year. There's going to be some really interesting changes that you guys are probably going to like a lot. Okay, so 3 preseason games. We should be pretty good, and we literally lost every preseason game, but that means we're probably going to have a really good regular season if my math is correct. 4 points in 3 games for Nagy. He at least had a good preseason, but team did not win really that much at all, but I think that means we're going to have a really good regular season. But if we under-simulate, we might have to look at maybe demoting one of our coaches and putting in one of the other 62% guys, because they're all pretty similar, which would be good to just have a different coach in maybe at that point. All right, so let's go to the end of October. We got a total of how many games this month? 5 games, 8 games, 11 games, 13 games. So a lot of games in October. Let's see how we do. And wow, Christoph Artmeyer already injures his leg in his first game of his career. That's really unfortunate for the kid, but that will get Chuck Kobasu likely into the lineup, which is good. So that way he doesn't complain. But Artmeyer's already back. So he literally didn't even get to miss that much time, which is kind of funny. And Chuck Kobasu didn't even get to play. Actually, he did get to play a game, and he was -2 in that one game. We brought him in for defense, and that is definitely not a great first game from him. We'll get Artmeyer back in, who's jumped up already to an 82. Hypothetically, Winnick should be even on the 4th line. We're just way too good in terms of depth right now. It's actually kind of insane. Let me stop the sim because I can't see what's happening here. Kind of a worse start than I expected. 2-2 in our first 4 games, but we got a lot of games this month, so let's see if we could just at least keep it 500, which right now we are kind of doing. Eventually we should start breaking out for a lot of wins consecutively, but we had a tough time against Colorado that month, so maybe it's just because we played Colorado 4 times and lost to them every single time that we had a bad first month. Because if we didn't play Colorado, maybe we'd have it easier. They are 7-4, 2-1, and they've beaten us 4 times in the same month, which is ridiculous. 6-5-2 for us in our first 13, which is not the best, but obviously, like I said, if we didn't play Colorado, maybe we'd have an easier time. Van Allen's already killing it. He's already got 17 points in 13 games, and he could probably be on the top line right now, but I'm not too sure if we want to have that approach where we have everybody on the top line. That's really good, but we could do that. How is everybody on the top line doing? Like, how's Nagy doing as a top liner? Only 8 points. You know what, we're going to go back to Van Allen on the top line then, and then move Nagy down with Legwand and Hartnell. So we have a bit of a more veteran second line. Our top line is our youth movement, and then our third line is kind of a bit of a mix. Our 4th line is a young 4th line. Defense is all young, of course, and then goaltending is still young and inexperienced. So let's simulate another month, and we'll see how good the team is doing at that point. Like I said, we might want to look into see how good Bruss is doing as well, just because if he's doing bad, we'll call up Jimmy Howard potentially. If he's not doing bad, then obviously we don't really need to rush Jimmy Howard up here too quickly. So let's go to the end of November, see if we could have a much better month, because that was kind of inconsistent. Broken nose for Shea Weber. Well, that's not really that great for our defensive play, but we will put Brooks Orpik in as replacement. Ryan Suter was never injured. Okay, now we're starting to win a good chunk of games here. It looks like as Shea Weber has returned. That's good, because obviously Shea's our best defenseman on this team other than Trevor Daley, who's now in the second pairing. So it's literally Suter and Weber playing together, which is nice. Daley's probably the most movable defenseman out of the defenders that we have on the team just because he's the oldest, but I would like to hold on to him for a bit. But yeah, this is a really good month so far, it looks like, from this team. We are still losing some games. Actually, never mind. Now we're starting to lose a bunch of games again. But 12-9-3, still kind of under-simulating from my perspective, but I think eventually the team will catch fire. Van Allen's still over point per game, so he is definitely our best player on this team, I feel like, at this stage. Even better than Marita, which is kind of weird. I do want to see if something's been going wrong with the team so far. Like, actually, if we're in a playoff spot, I want to know if we're in a playoff spot at the moment. Yeah, we are. We're 6th place right now. Okay, yeah, we don't really need to worry too much because the teams that are outside the playoffs are on 43% point percentage. We're on 56. So even though we have been a little bit more inconsistent, we're still that type of team that will be able to make a playoffs with this type of back and forth. There's a lot of teams that are way worse than us, so we don't need to worry too much. Let's go another month. We have now simulated a total of 24 games. We want to go to at least a halfway point of the year, so to like game 41 if possible. So let's go to the end of December. We got a lot of games against Detroit this month, which is not necessarily ideal. They are currently 1st place in our division. First game against them, we win 2-1, and Pavelski's been injured with a mild concussion. Let's just go replace player. We lose to Anaheim. We tie with Edmonton. We beat Detroit again, so we have beaten the top team in our division 2 times in the first week, which is great. We'll take Kobasu back out, and we will get Pavelski back in. Nicely done. I can't see what's happening again because this game has that weird glitch. We've had a lot of games against the Ducks this month too. We've won 1 of the 3. So the Ducks have been giving us a bit of a tough time as well. Chicago we beat. Detroit we lose that time. We lose to Atlanta of all teams. But we beat the Islanders 8-1. Yeah, still a little bit inconsistent. But you never know. Maybe being inconsistent is the play to be better in the postseason. So we've done 37 games now. So we could go 4 more games. And we'll at least be at the halfway point of the year. So let's go through these 4 games. And then we could take a look and see what's been going good for us so far this year and what hasn't been. All right, so 2015, 5-1 at the halfway point of the year, which is pretty solid. Van Allen's still over a point per game with 47 points in 41 games. He's been very, very good. He isn't on pace for as much goals as he was last year, but to be over a point per game in his 4th season is pretty nice. So in terms of the standings, we are currently actually now tied for first place in our division with the Red Wings. You also have the Blues that are close. The Blackhawks are way off of us, so we don't even need to worry about them. But in terms of the Western Conference, let me take a look at this. We're 5th place. You know what? Being in the mid-table is not that bad. We're on 54.9% point percentage. The teams that are outside of the playoffs, some of them are actually on 52. The St. Louis Blues are the one to worry about, I guess, going forward. But in terms of entire league stuff, we are currently the 9th best team in the NHL. So it's been inconsistent, but we're still a top 10 team, which is nice. Goals for per game, we are not really scoring that much, I guess, aside from Van Allen, because our offense is currently in the bottom half of the season. It could definitely find itself in the second half, like what happened with my Winnipeg series, but that is a little bit of a weird stat. Goals against per game, though, we are the 3rd best defensive team. So we're kind of similar to what Nashville is like a lot of time in their seasons. Great defensive stats, but not so much offense. So we're kind of actually like the Preds in real life, too. Power play percentage. Our power play is pretty good, though. Like, we might not be good offensively 5-on-5, but our power play has been clicking. And our penalty kill is also kind of decent-ish. It's a little bit below mid-table, but it's better than our regulation goal scoring pretty much. 9-9-3 on home ice, 11-6-2-1 on the road. 4 shorthanded goals already, which, geez, Boston's already got 10 shorthanded goals halfway through the year. That's actually kind of nuts. So we are still up there in shorthanded goals, though, but bit of a weird season from this team. I think we might just want to run with this team as is, but at the same time, this might be one of our last runs that we have, so we might want to make some adjustments. Holy crap. Okay, yeah, we might want to make some adjustments. Mike Comrie's been terrible defensively, but I'll get to that in a sec. Jason Spezza, over point per game. He's been good. David Legwand's under point per game, but he's still been solid. Great plus-minus. Mike Comrie, though, the 20 points is nice, but the minus 13 in 41 games isn't. I don't know if it's because that third line's just getting shredded or what, but we might have to get rid of Comrie and bring in a more veteran guy for that third line. That's actually a left winger because he's playing on the left side right now. He's probably used to playing down the middle, so we could try and trade Comrie for a veteran left winger if you guys think that's a necessary thing. Lacoste on 14 points, not too bad. Minus 3 only, so it's not that bad for a fourth line guy. Pavelski on 10 points only, but a minus 8. So yeah, that third line definitely seems to be struggling for plus minus quite a bit. Left wing side of things, Marita on 44 points. He's still over point per game. He's got 21 goals this year as well. He's looking good. Hartnell's on 31 points. He's also looking good and a plus 14. Nagy's got the 28 points, only plus 1, which is kind of weird considering he's in the top 6 where most of the offense is happening. So you think it'd be a little bit better there. Rene Bourque has 6 points only, but minus 6. He has not been ideal. I don't remember how much points he had last year. 29. Yeah, he's only on pace for 12 points this year, so the bottom 6 isn't doing as much offense as they did last season. Obviously, things could change in the second half, though. Right wing side of things, Hayden Van Allen, 47 points, 19 goals, plus 29. He's also been very, very good. Art Meyer, only 7 points and a minus 4. He is a fourth line guy right now, but that's not too good. Parker Winnick's got 6 points in 41 games, but minus 12. So Parker Winnick, despite being a power forward, is not a huge offensive threat right now. Probably because he doesn't have power play time, but he's not doing that good defensively. His offense isn't that good either. And then Chuck Kobasu has only played 4 games, but he's -6. So there is some problems in that bottom 6, especially in terms of the plus-minus. Like right now, our top lines are kind of carrying us. But these guys are all struggling defensively, I would say. So we might need to find a way to trade some of these younger guys to bring in a veteran that actually can play defensively better. Or we just run with it and hope that it corrects itself. Defensively, Shea Weber's been solid, 14 points, 37 games, +5. Ryan Suter's been good. Corzini's only a -3, so that's not terrible. Seabrook's been good. Daly's a -5. That's not terrible either, but he's not bringing much offense either. Jacques on 3 points, +9. And Orpik's only played 4 games, but +2. So I'm okay with our defenses plus-minus, I would say, for the most part. It's the offense that we need to worry about. And in goaltending, Sedin's on a .911 save percentage. So Sedin's been really good again this season. He hasn't got injured yet. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But he's been pretty good. Brust has been solid. His save percentage is definitely not as good as it was last year. But his goals against is relatively similar. So we are a very good defensive team. But we are not scoring enough. And I think that's why we have a lot of guys that are badly plus-minus. But do we want to get rid of these liability type of guys like Mike Comrie to find somebody that's better defensively, even though we're already a good defensive team? Or do we just want to hold on to him for the offense? It's a bit interesting to decide on that type of thing. In terms of stats around the league, let's take a look at stats around the league halfway through the year for fun too. Prospel's leading the league with 61 points. That's kind of weird. Joe Thornton right behind him. Brian Rolston up there as well. Alexei Yashin. Ilya Kovalchuk's up there. All right. Sean Horkov. Most goals so far this season is Yashin with 34 and Kovalchuk with 30. Best defenseman so far this season, Oleg Tverdovsky again. Not having as good of a year as last year, because last year he had over 100 points, but this year he's got 41 in his first 39. Yanni Nienema up there as well, Dan Boyle. All right. In terms of goalies, the best goalie so far in terms of wins is Marc-Andre Fleury. Most shutouts so far, Ryan Miller. Best save percentage by a starter. You're probably looking at these 3 guys. Jaguar's got a 921, Broder's got a 920, Jamie Store's got a 920, and Thomas Vokun's got a 920, of course, in Colorado. So Vokun's been fantastic so far. Yeah, our former goalie might be up there for a Vezina. That's interesting. Going forward, let's see, any goalie goals? No goalie goals so far. Most assists so far, Fernandez and Fleury. Best rookie so far this season is Clifford Flynn of the Leafs. All right. All right. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a weird season, but I think this could be similar to what happened with my Winnipeg series, where we just have a weird start to the year, and in the second half is a lot better. So maybe things will correct itself, but at the same time, we might want to make some adjustments. So I will look at the trading block just in case you guys see any veterans that you think could help us play better defensively on like that third line especially, because I think that would be the area to address. So the Pavelski, Winnick, and Comrie line, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Dave Scatchard's a power forward. Sammy Paulson's that type of guy, probably, but he's a depth forward. His defense is still actually really, really good, though. So Sammy Paulson could be intriguing, even though it's 07-08. So this is the year after, technically, when he was on the Ducks and he scored goals against the Sens. So I don't really like him because of that, but it would be an interesting bottom 6 player to help us out in terms of our defensive stats. But once again, maybe we just need more offense in our lineup or something like that, and that third line will actually have a better plus-minus or something like that, because maybe they're just out there for a lot of goals against and not scoring enough. Stu Barnes is a playmaker, which is not really something I'd want for the bottom 6, I don't think, but he is a good vet. Derek Morris is defense. We don't need defenders. Just looking for maybe some offensive veterans. Boris Smirnov at 35, no thank you. Kurt Sauer. David Abisher, don't need Abisher for sure. Detroit, Mike York, he's a playmaker. Peter Schaefer is exactly kind of what I would be looking for. He is a lot older than Comrie, I think, at this point, but he's basically the left-wing two-way forward that Comrie is trying to be right now. He's only -1 as well this season. He is listed as a second liner, though, so he's not going to get a lot of ice time with us. Had 60 points last year in Colorado, too. But Peter Schaefer could be a good third-line left winger, but he'd be more of a top 6 guy based on his stats. Wow, Mike Pekka is also really good too, but Mike Pekka would not work on that third line. He's also listed as a second liner, but he's fantastic defensively, won Selkies in his career, so there is some defensive options. And Nat Domicelli as well, but he's not as good. He's on a two-way contract, which is kind of crazy because he's an 84 overall, so I don't know how they got him on a two-way. And Janssen too, so there's a lot of two-ways in Detroit on the block. Edmonton, not really anybody. Florida, just prospects as per usual. Wait, did Florida draft Camille Krebs? Because I think this is the one. Yeah. Oh, they didn't even draft him, but Florida has Camille Krebs now, like he actually was there in real life at this point. So that's a really kind of cool. And then is this Tanner Glass that I made? Yes, and he was drafted by the Devils. He actually played for Florida too. So that's kind of neat that two of the guys that actually played for the Florida Panthers ended up in Florida. Montreal, not really much. There is Mitchell, like John Mitchell? Yeah, John Mitchell. But he's not fantastic defensively. The Devils, not really much of anything. Islanders just have Jim Campbell, who's like dropping off a lot. Ottawa, Kimmo Timonen, we don't need to bring him back. Craig Anderson's on the block. Is this Justin Williams? No, it's Jason. Jason Williams is not bad defensively, but his shot blocking is atrocious, so I don't know if he'd even really help us out, but he's in the AHL at the moment. He's kind of similar to what Chuck Obasu is right now, so he's not really much. Anything else? Nothing in San Jose. St. Louis has Osgood on the block. Tampa, nothing. Toronto, nothing. Not a lot of teams have stuff on the block. Vancouver's trying to get rid of a medium elite prospect. That's kind of weird. Sylvain Giroux, who they drafted 7th overall. I wonder if Vancouver's actually good this year because they had a really good team that they were building up. So I'm actually kind of interested on that. And then the Capitals just have defenders on the block pretty much, and goalies. So that's all that's on the trading block. I'd say the most intriguing players, if we were to bring in two-way forwards, would probably be guys like Schaefer. If we could bring in Pekka, Domicelli, Janssen, one of these guys for a third-line role might not be a bad option. Like Janssen as a two-way, he's 3.5-star defense. Nat Domicelli's 3.5-star defense, which isn't bad. But then you have Mike Pekka, who's a 5-star defensive player, which is great, but he isn't the type of guy you'd put on a third line. We'd have to probably put him as a second liner, and I'd probably have to move Legwand down to the third line or something like that if we did that. And then Peter Schaefer's a solid second liner as well, but yeah, he's a winger. It would be interesting to go after Michael Pekka, but that value is also pretty damn high, so I don't know if we'd be able to get him. He's also signed for 4 years, which means he'd be signed for the rest of the series probably. So, yeah, I think Pekka would probably be the most realistic option for us. Like I said, we move him to the second line center. Legwand would be third line as an 87, but he is listed as a second liner as well. He has good defensive stats though too, so he could definitely help out that third line being better defensively. But if we did something like that, Pavelski would probably be on the wing on the right side instead. Comrie would be gone from this team likely. And then, yeah, the rest of that would stay the same. So it'd be like Winnick. It would be, I guess, technically... Yeah, it'd be Winnick, Legwand, and I guess Pavelski on that third line. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like, we might just want to keep the team the same and just play with that, but it's kind of weird. Also, we need to think about if we want to get rid of Brust and call up Jimmy Howard for next episode. Because Howard's a 79, and then we have Brust, who's an 82. We're almost getting to that point where Versteeg is surpassing Howard too, so we could use Jimmy Howard for sure, but we could also trade him away if we really want to. He's doing pretty similar to what he did last year in the AHL as well at the moment, so he has been good. Yeah, that's a tough decision. So there's that, and I think that's almost it. I need to double check. Let me actually take a quick look at what the draft class is looking like already, even though we might not even have next year's draft, depending on how far we get if we do make the playoffs. And it looks like a standard draft for the most part. Is there any lowlights that I could pin already if we are to have another draft? I hope this team could get it done this year, but obviously it depends on our experience. So we have, let's see, Moen, 4 years, probably not guaranteed. That's pretty much it. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Nashville Predators Throwback 2000 franchise mode. So in next episode, we will maybe make some adjustments to our team to make us better defensively. We are a great defensive team already. It's just that third line has really bad plus-minus because they're not scoring enough. So do we just keep it the same and hope that their offense will get their plus-minuses better? Or do we address it so it's better defensively, but then maybe it won't still score a lot? Because I think, obviously, we want the team to be good defensively, but at the same time, the defensive numbers already look really good in the regular season. It's just trying to find a way to make that third line better defensively than they already are without sacrificing the offense necessarily. Because if we sacrifice the offense too much, our team's not going to be able to do as good when it comes to the postseason. So think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.